Hello, my fellow light beings, my fellow light workers, those of us who came here to purify ourselves and liberate ourselves so that we can actually be that pure light that we are for ourselves and, of course, for the world. Shining a bigger, brighter light serves everyone, very much ourselves too. I want to use some bigger words today like unplugging from the matrix and taking back our sovereignty, claiming our sovereignty. There's something about the word claiming, you just take it, right? I claim it, I take it, I own it, it's mine. And your sovereignty is yours because whose else could it ever be but your own? And for whatever reason, we have for a long, long time been giving away our sovereignty to something outside of ourselves, also called the false matrix by many, other names too. And I remember many years ago, I read a book, I think it was called Unplugging from the Patriarchy. And that's why I'm using that word right now because it came to me the other day and I'm like, oh yeah, that was a really powerful book where this woman, she would just literally go to these areas where there's very heavy duty patriarchal programming. And she would just go there, maybe sit outside the building or sit close by where some of these meetings were happening. And she would just like really bring that light, bring her light, the energy, the presence of who she is, who we all are, and just sit that there with that. And it touched me because that's so true in my own experience that it's just like my own sovereignty. There's nothing more powerful than that. But we have to claim it, claim your sovereignty, and kick that false matrix fear out the door. And that is a big mouthful, and it is so much easier for me to say it than to actually do it and be it. However, what else is there? What else is there? Is there anything more important to you than claiming back your sovereignty? Because it's always been yours. Somehow you borrowed it. It's like let other people tell you what you should do and specifically what you should be afraid of, right? We know that fear from the false matrix coming in, you know, controlling you, letting you know what you could or shouldn't do, could do or shouldn't do. There's all that background noise that I've been talking about a lot, and that is something we need to catch. And it's sometimes it's these quiet whispers. I think I did a video on that. I'll post it here. That it's these undercover agents showing up as whispers and hypnotic suggestions. And you barely hear them or know them, but your whole system, your whole nervous system, every cell in your body responds to it, and you just feel you're freezing. It's like, whoop, whoop, and poof, out the door goes your sovereignty. You're plugged in again. You're plugged into the matrix because fear still runs our lives, more or less. And I want to just share because very recently I was in a situation where, in a group situation, and there was something going on that I was fine for a while. And then I started noticing that it wasn't right. It didn't feel right. But there was a part of me that froze, not like this, but just inside, something in me froze. And when we freeze, that's always fear. It's a cold, dense energy that just contracts. And I noticed it, and that frozenness stopped me unconsciously from saying something. And afterwards, I talked to a few of my friends and they had the same reaction. And I said, I noticed that I freeze when there is a very strong, powerful, um, yeah, a big energy that sounds almost like anger or overwhelm or like overpowering something. And when that happens, and that's of course my dad, I grew up with that. So there's still part in my nervous system that freezes and I don't say anything. Um, so I was just really noticing that and being with it. I'm not making myself wrong or bad. I didn't make the other person wrong or bad. I was just noticing where I am still not free, where I am still giving away my sovereignty because I froze. And when I freeze, I don't have access to my wisdom, to my power, to my source energy. It's like, boop, it's like a door closes. And you get a little fuzzy or a little like, what? But then afterwards, when I was out of that situation, and it was not a bad situation at all, I could definitely have said something. But this frozenness stopped me from doing that. And then afterwards, when I could really see it, feel it, be with it, talk about it, and really actually noticing that we all had kind of a similar reaction, but with a bit different flavor, maybe, but still a frozenness. Because when I said, I noticed that part of me freezes, then these other people said, yeah, it's frozen. I felt that too, right? So by naming it, it's like I broke that spell and then we could just see it for what it is. I'm afraid of this kind of energy, or there is a part of me that's afraid of that kind of energy because I'm not really, but there is a part of me that is. And that part, she's not free. She is plugged into the matrix because every time there is fear, you can be sure that you pulled in the plug, pushed in your plug into the matrix. And then the fear, and then you feed the fear, you engage with the fear, you obey to the fear. And we freeze. So by being with that afterwards, just really being with it and talking about it and fully owning it, not blaming anybody, not making anybody wrong, really understanding where we all come from. And it has shifted something where I feel like, you know what? I could actually easily connect with that person now and just speak from my own experience. I could just say, when you said that or when you expressed it in that way, I noticed that part of me froze a little bit and I wasn't fully aware of it. But now I am, and now I would like to address it and say, when this happens, when I'm in a situation like that, I would like to learn how I can um, address it with you where I feel that you are able to hear me versus the other one is like, oh, if I say anything, nobody's going to hear me anyway. And that was the frozenness. So when I defrosted my frozenness, then I was like, oh, you know what? I can say it this way because I'm not afraid now. I actually really want to know. I want to know how to be with people who are very direct and very maybe even righteous, that this is the way. I don't really know how to meet them. But now I'm curious about it. So I'm taking back my sovereignty. I'm unplugging. See, I unplugged from the false matrix by noticing it in myself. And that in itself is a skill we all need to develop to be able to be present with what's going on inside, whether it's in a moment or a minute or 5 minutes or, an hour later. It's like, oh, what happened there? So then you learn to be present with that. And of course, that's what I do in my work too. It's not just for me. I help people to be present with what's going on without dismissing it, without bypassing it, without leaving the situation and never coming back because it's too scary. That we all have these ways of avoiding, hmm, how can I meet you so that we can actually meet each other, so we can hear each other, even though we're very different? Is there a way? And is there a way I can meet you, which I could say to my friend here, where you are open to hearing my experience without making each other wrong, So it's just kind of a clarification of these frozen parts in us, what they need so that we can unplug from the false matrix, from the fear, from the frozenness. Take a deep breath and come back again here. What is it that I really want? I really would like to stay present in myself in this kind of a situation. And I also want to be free enough in myself that I can speak what I want to speak, not through the fear, because when you're afraid and you try and say it, it comes out like a little monkey, but speak it in a way where I'm still here. That doesn't mean there's not fear, but that's okay. It's like, yeah, you can be here too, but I'm actually still listening to what I want. And of course, it comes back to this thing, what I talked about a few videos ago, where I say, I'm not interested in you anymore. The fear, right? The fear that makes me freeze. It's like, no, I don't want to freeze anymore. So I'm not going to engage with you. I know what I want. I want to be in my sovereignty. I want to be in peace. And I want to be able to speak from that place to a situation that would normally scare me or make me freeze. So just that little scenario, I hope that will help you to see that there are actually ways out of these places where we feel frozen. We feel so afraid that we make a story. It's like, I don't want to be with that, or, and it's like we distance ourselves from it and move away and hope to create something better over here, which is nothing wrong with that either. But as long as we have that piece of frozenness in us, we will recreate it because the frozenness is just being mirrored back to us on the outside. And this is, of course, I'm coming from this viewpoint that it's all a mirror out there and it's all myself. So in that situation, this mirror showed me where I'm still afraid of big, very direct energy. It's like, oh, okay, thank you, mirror. Hmm, I think I want to change my mirror. I want to just be able to say, hey, wow, it got a big energy there or something without making it a big deal. So here's again, this is how Pranila handles these things in the world. And if this resonates, you can do it. You may need support with it in the beginning. It's very common because I think the common thing is to contract even more and go away and maybe just become a super hermit. And I am a super hermit anyway, but I don't want to do it out of fear or avoidance. I want to do it because I just love being in my own presence. And then I can share that when the situation arises. So it's not withdrawing out of fear or anger or whatever. It's just like, yeah. But the invitation is that we do get more and more into our sovereignty and unplug, like pull out that plug out of the false matrix, which is up here, which is the fear that keeps wanting to in your engagement. And every time you plug in, you get plenty of free floating fear. If that's what you want, plug it in and leave it in. But I know that's not what any of us want. We've had enough, haven't we? Haven't you had enough? So then it's learning to unplug. And I would say go and check that video out where I talk about, you're kind of done. You're breaking up with fear, or you're just saying, it doesn't really feed my soul anymore or any part of me. So I'm gonna really choose to not engage whenever I can. If there's a lag time, like there was for me yesterday, was fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But I'm willing, right? As long as we're willing, we can go there. We can go there. So, my friends, unplug from the matrix and take back, claim back your sovereignty.